Carl Jung, the founder of depth psychology, once said, "When you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." In the realm of toxic relationships, this truth resounds with a force that is hard to ignore, especially when we speak of the encounter between the narcissist and the empath. At first glance, they seem like an uncannily perfect match. Everything visible on the surface suggests harmony, a relationship that complements each other so well, it feels as though it was orchestrated by destiny itself. The narcissist is endlessly hungry for admiration, for the constant stream of praise, for the feeling of standing at the very center of the universe. They live to absorb attention, as though every word of flattery is a breath that keeps their fragile ego alive. The empath, on the other hand, lives to understand, to heal. They willingly listen to the most hidden wounds, ready to carry pain that is not theirs to bear, and believe with unshakable faith that genuine love can transform every flaw. In their eyes, every person holds within them a better version waiting to be awakened, and they want to be the one to awaken it. But beneath that seemingly calm surface lies a dangerous psychological dance, a dance not performed in the light, but in the deepest shadows of the soul. There, one side skillfully exploits the other's profound sensitivity, turning compassion into a tool, devotion into an invisible chain. Every lament, every tear, every story of past wounds can become a playing card in the game of maintaining control. And so, the empath, who once believed they were the healer, slowly becomes the very source of energy that fuels a sophisticated mechanism of control, while the narcissist quietly strengthens their position within the empath's mind, piece by piece, until the power belongs entirely to them. Jung pointed out, the narcissist does not wear a mask to hide their true self, because the mask itself is who they are. There is no authentic version buried deep within, waiting to be discovered or redeemed. What the world sees is the very structure of the ego they have painstakingly built over years, a sophisticated construction assembled from fear, emptiness, and an insatiable need to control others. What they present is not a temporary facade, something to be removed once they feel safe. It is a second skin, clinging to every gesture, every word, every glance. A defensive system they themselves believe to be their true self. Every charming smile is a tool. Every confession of past wounds is a test to see how you will react. Every initial gesture of care is bait, meant to make you believe you have encountered a fragile soul in need of healing. But in truth, it all serves one purpose: to take your attention, your admiration, your devotion, and above all, your emotional power. And when the empath realizes this, they also face a brutal truth. There is no better version of the narcissist waiting to be awakened. What you are seeing is all there is. And if you choose to stay, you are only helping that mask become more perfect. Awakening is not a lightning bolt tearing through the night, not a climactic movie scene where everything changes in an instant. It comes slower, quieter, like a tiny crack in glass. At first, almost invisible, but day by day, it spreads deeper, wider, irreversible. It begins with seemingly harmless details, a baseless lie, so small you tell yourself, "I must have misheard." A look of indifference at the very moment you needed empathy the most. Promises of "I'll change," repeated over and over, yet never fulfilled. Then come the unreasonable demands, carefully wrapped in the sweet paper of affection. They call it love or say, "It's because I care about you." They tell you what you should do, what you shouldn't do. They impose limits yet make you believe it's all for your own good. These small incidents, each word, each glance, each reaction, are like scattered puzzle pieces. At first, never enough for you to see the full picture. But then, they accumulate, day after day, year after year, until one moment, the picture becomes so clear you can no longer turn away. And in that moment, the empath suddenly understands. What they once believed was love, was care, was a deep connection, was, in truth, nothing more than a tool of control, not love, not sharing, but a chess game in which your heart was just a pawn. One of the most dangerous traps is the belief that if I love them enough and understand them enough, they will change. Jung called this the redemption illusion, and only when the empath lets go of this illusion do they truly begin to step out of the toxic spiral. One of the deadliest traps into which empaths so often fall is that sweet but lethal belief: if I love them enough, if I understand them enough, one day they will change. It sounds noble, like a fairy tale about the power of love and patience, but in reality, this belief does not lead to a happy ending. It becomes an invisible chain, binding the empath ever tighter to the toxic relationship. Jung called this the redemption illusion. It is when you believe you are the only savior, that your love is the key capable of unlocking the door to change within the other person. But what you do not realize is that this door is built of concrete, not wood. It was never designed to open. The empath often mistakes each small moment of apparent warmth as a step closer to the better version of the narcissist, thinking that with just a little more patience, one more act of forgiveness, everything will be different. They overlook the repeated behaviors, the promises that never materialize, and they make excuses for the other person. They've been through so much pain. They just need time. I can be the one to help them. But in truth, every time you forgive them, every time you give them another chance, you are teaching them one thing: that they can continue to hurt you without facing any real consequences. And then, the day you finally release the redemption illusion is the day you truly begin to step out of this toxic spiral, because in that moment, you realize you are not their savior. You are under no obligation to turn them into someone else. And more importantly, the capacity to change, if it exists at all, will always rest in their hands, never in yours. Only by accepting this truth can the empath begin to turn inward, to heal themselves, and reclaim the freedom they have been unconsciously giving away for so long. Emotional detachment does not mean emotional numbness. It is the ability to see things from a healthy distance. It is when your self-worth is no longer measured by how well you can meet the ever-shifting demands of the narcissist. This is the first step toward reclaiming your identity. And when the empath, after being swept into countless storms of emotion, finally learns how to stop reacting, something unexpected happens. The narcissist begins to panic, because all their life, their power has depended on one thing: the ability to provoke and manipulate the emotions of others. Every excuse, every tear, every outburst of anger has been fueled to keep their intricate game of control alive. But now, when faced with complete silence, a void they cannot fill with threats or charm, they are like a person stranded in the open sea, suddenly losing their only lifeline. Jung called this active silence. It is not retreat, it is not avoidance. On the contrary, it is a declaration of immense power. You no longer have access to me, you no longer have the ability to enter my mind and my heart. This silence is not emptiness. It carries a message as clear as day. I have taken back ownership of my emotions. For the narcissist, this is like a coup in the dark. The strategies that once worked, playing the victim, sweet-talking, explosive rage, are now useless. They have lost the emotional fuel they once took for granted, and the empath, within this silence, is no longer the weak, reactive one. They have become the one holding absolute control. Not reacting does not mean losing. On the contrary, it is the strongest possible statement. I'm not playing this game anymore. This is the silent victory, a triumph without noise, without the need for announcements, yet powerful enough to bring down the entire structure of power the narcissist had built. Then, within this proud stillness, the true voice begins to rise, no longer the trembling voice, rushing to explain to avoid being misunderstood, no longer the excuses for behavior that has no justification, but a voice that is strong, steady, forged in the fires of trial and tempered into steel. It is a voice that speaks plainly with clarity, avoiding nothing, fearing nothing, seeking no one's approval. A voice that can look directly at the truth and name it for what it is. This is manipulation. This is not love. The moment the truth is named is the moment the empath takes back authorship of their life story. From being a secondary character swept along in a script written by someone else, they become the author, the one holding the pen, deciding where the story will go. And then, the very thing the narcissist fears most finally happens. The empath begins to grow, not merely to exist, but to truly live. They become happy, more radiant than ever before, like a garden bursting into bloom after a long, unforgiving winter. The light they now radiate was never given to them by the narcissist. That brilliance has always been theirs. It existed long before, only hidden beneath the shadows of control and manipulation. And the ironic truth is this: the narcissist was never a source of nourishment, but rather the obstacle in the way. This realization is like a blade severing the last thread that bound the two together. It shatters the illusion of power the narcissist clung to, revealing the hollow void of the ego, a depth they have spent their entire life avoiding. Jung called this stage individuation, the journey of becoming wholly oneself, when the lost fragments are finally brought together, forming a complete picture, no longer patched together by someone else. If this story has touched something deep within you, don't let it end here. Change begins with awareness, but it only truly grows when you nurture it every single day. Hit subscribe so we can continue exploring the truths that few dare to face. And if you want to go deeper, watch the full video. The link is right below in the comments. Your power doesn't lie in fighting the narcissist, but in rebuilding yourself. Begin that journey right now.